Hi, so today I'm going to presenting my favorite personality thing on Sigmund Freud. I have always been fascinated by him because he's a pretty crazy guy. He is pretty much the biggest psychologist that we know out of psychology. Everyone knows who he is. I've learned about him since I was in high school. His name always pops up in every psychology class. And the thing is with him that is crazy is he tends to have all these things that aren't scientifically proven, which we will talk about later on. But he just has something about him that everyone seems to like. And every theory that he came up with, even though it might not scientifically be proven, if you explain it to someone, it always makes sense. And I think as well, um, him becoming a doctor to marry, he's developing the use of talk therapy, which is often criticized by today's psychotherapists. But many will tend to utilize his methods to a certain extent, actually. And we actually see that talk therapy plays a primary role in psychoanalytic therapy. And it's very important for many therapeutic techniques. And so I've always been just fascinated by that. I'm gonna make this presentation though pretty quick and simple. It's just kind of go in depth of what he believed in, why our personality is different than others, why his theory was complex, the personality theory, psychosexual stages, and psychoanalysis. Just all the big things that we know. The first is, what did he believe in? I kind of want us to start off with people were born with a certain number of instincts or drives. This was ID, superego, or ego. And he believed that these three are going to influence our human behavior. We'll start off with ID. So this is our unconscious mind, which brings us pleasure and primitive of our minds, including aggression and sex drives. So this is kind of what's going to start us if we think of someone sexually, or if we are upset and want to hit um, our fist against a desk because we're frustrated by homework. This is kind of more of the ID. Ego is where the conscious part of our mind where we take action for positive means and what to do based on what we believe is best to do. So this is kind of just, for example, if you are fighting with your friend and you don't know what to do, where we kind of think of, okay, what is our mind telling us, and in a positive way of what we are going to do best. And super ego is unconscious part of mind that reminds us of what to do. So what is the best thing to do? But why was his theory so complex? He ended up modifying it as he went along. Every single time he went along, he found a new theory or believed in something, he always seemed to modify it, and it wasn't just one thing that stuck. He never actually presented any actual comprehensive summary of his final views because it had so many components. We never really had a full on, like, this is what I actually believe in, and it was scientifically proven. So a lot of these components were a theory of motivation, a theory of thinking, a theory of personality, a theory of mental structures, a theory of psychopathology, a theory of psychotherapy. Personality theory to him. So he had defined personality as our characteristic pattern of thinking, feeling, and acting. Some of his techniques or what we use were unconscious and free association. Unconscious was our large below the surface area, which contains thoughts, wishes, feelings, and memories of which we are unaware of. And then the free association is the patient is asked to relax and say whatever comes to mind, no matter how embarrassing or trivial, which we see a lot of nowadays. If we go to a therapy appointment, we kind of sit down in a chair, and our therapist will ask us, tell us kind of what's been going on, why we've been upset, how we've just been lately. and we just kind of slowly just open up. And even though we might be talking to technically a stranger, um, but we aren't as much embarrassed. The psychosexual stages, which is one of the things I feel like a lot of people know and come up with, other than psychoanalysis, which will be our last slide. A lot of people just kind of come up with this when they hear his name. This is when children process through six psychosexual stages during psychosexual development. Right here, we kind of have a simple graph to kind of explain it to us. So we have the oral stage, which is what we have birth to 12 months, which is the infant's pleasure centering amount around mouth. Kind of just that connection that we have with our mother's breast. This will give us our infant's pleasure, which we will then have in the future. 1 to 3 years, anal stage. This is a child's pleasure, focuses on the anus, and from elimination, this is like toilet training and relationship between the parents. Of frustration, we have the phallic stage, which is 3 to 6 years. This is the children's pleasure, focusing on the genitals, where we have the Oedipus and Electra and penis envy. Um, the Atlantis stage, which is the child's repressive sexual interest and develops social and intellectual skills. It's one of the more kind of important ones, where we kind of are trying to learn how we can talk about our problems, saying yes and no, and the puberty onward. So this is a time of sexual reawakening, source of sexual pleasure, becoming someone's outside of the family. So kind of when we first have our connection with our parents, and we kind of start having love interest as we grow older, and we kind of start having that sexual attraction, and all of that. Lastly, we have psychoanalysis. This was between 1894 and 1920, and this is one of the other big things that he was known for. This is a set of philosophical of human nature. It's an approach to therapy and a theory of personality. It emphasizes our unconscious motivation. The main cause of behavior lie in unconscious mind. This has no scientific basis, but as if we kind of were to give a summary, its core idea of each of us has an unconscious part whose existence, activities, and thoughts are hidden behind a mental barrier that we cannot voluntarily remove. But behind this barrier, we are repressed and psychologically dangerous the thoughts that give us to unconscious conflicts, which in turn result in psychological and physical symptoms, such as like depression, mood swings, stress, things like that. That is my presentation. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it kind of gave you an understanding of what he is known for and some of his theories. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed.